Welcome to The Route to Revenue, two entrepreneurs sharing the path to curbside cash flow. I'm Ben.
And I'm Mike. We're both founders of two successful recurring revenue businesses in the home services industry, and we've built our companies from startup to profitable and scalable operations.
This is the show for entrepreneurs serious about building sustainable home service businesses. Whether you're starting out, scaling up, or ready to move beyond trading time for money, we share proven strategies for creating predictable monthly revenue streams.
And while our expertise comes from the bin cleaning industry, the systems and principles we discuss work for any recurring revenue home service. Think lawn care, pest control, pool maintenance, and beyond.
Each episode, we break down real-world strategies for customer acquisition, retention, operational efficiency, and building systems that generate consistent income while you step back from daily operations.
Are you ready to transform your home service businesses from a demanding job into a profitable asset? This is The Route to Revenue.
Welcome back, everybody. This is The Route to Revenue. I'm Ben Magee with Green Can Cleaner, and I'm here with Mike from Spiffybin. How are you today, Mike?
Hey, Ben. I'm doing great. Yourself?
I'm peachy.
Peachy. That's our Georgia fruit. That's the peach state.
We're the peach state.
Yeah. That's right. We're the peach state. Yeah. And you know, there's I don't even know the exact number. I should know. I think in Atlanta alone, there's 600 street names that have the peach in them, have the name peach in them. They'll have Peach Street, Peachtree Street, or Peach whatever. I don't know, all sorts of different things. So, but anyways,
Peach
I digress.
Street? Is there a Peach Cobbler Street?
There might be.
I like Peach Cobbler.
Yeah, I don't know that one exactly, but it's crazy. So, anyways, I digress. But we have a really interesting episode today. The true episode title I believe is Building to Sell, Exit Strategy for Home Service Operators. You know, I'm excited about this one because as I sit here today, I'm 53 years old and I only want to work another 40 years. So I'm looking for an exit strategy that will get me out before my 94th, before I hit my 94th birthday.
Before 94.
So, I figure if I learn today a little bit and then I revisit this around year 35 from today, I should be able to have something in mind. But I'm kind of excited about it because we put so much work into this business and our businesses and so much and oftentimes we forget that there's a carrot at the end of the string or the end of the fishing pole that we're trying to we're running after. I mean, we don't forget that we're running after it, but we maybe don't plan or optimize our business as much as we should or we could until it's probably too late to really, optimize it for the most value.
Right. As you know, one of the things that I do when I'm on a route is I listen to a lot of books. So these days I don't listen to as many books, but one of the books that I listened to early on was a book called Built to Sell. And in that, basically what it talks about is that if you build your business to be able to be sold, then it takes you out of the equation. It makes you implement the systems and the processes and the things that we've talked about on this show. All of that has to be in place, which then if you decide that you want to keep your business, you're better off because your business is already running without you or so close to without you that it's not tying you down. So I'm really excited about this episode as well. I think that it makes a big difference for people if they actually will build their businesses with the idea of selling them in mind. So, I mean, the bottom line is when we think about this type of episode, every business owner will eventually sell. It may be that, with me, I may be 8 feet under and someone might be selling it for me, but eventually something's going to happen and it's
could be an avalanche. I mean,
there you go.
You never know.
You never know.
Do you when you ski quite frequently out in Denver, do you wear one of those avalanche transponder things or is that not really common where you go?
I I haven't had to worry about that much. So
Good.
my ski
That's a
jacket
good thing.
does have it built in,
What
but
does?
it does. My ski jacket,
Oh,
like,
okay. Uh-huh.
but I don't. I mean, if I'm honest, I don't know if it works or not.
Stay
So
on the groom trails and you'll be all right.
just do groomers. Maybe if you stay within the boundaries of the ski resorts, then I figure I'm pretty safe. Although they did have an avalanche a little while ago at one in Utah, so I don't
I
know.
did see that. That was sad.
It was
Three or
sad.
four people died, right? Or six people, something like that.
I don't remember. I don't remember the.
It was a
I
decent
was
number.
I was skiing elsewhere when I saw it, but I
Wow.
I saw it and went, "Wow, that's sad."
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Anyways,
um,
sorry to digress.
no, you're all right. I think one of the things that makes this episode really good as well is that when we're talking about selling, recurring revenue models bring higher multiples than non-recurring revenue models. And I think that one of the things that I've started doing is I actually do look at my business from, what's it worth? And I think that that gives me another vantage point. Do you know much about how home services are valued?
I know I also listened to a book and it's called John Warrelau wrote it and it's Automatic Customer. And in that book, he talks basically the foundation of recurring revenue. And there's different metrics that you can use, but what the premise behind that book is that if you're a plumber and you just go and you do your jobs as you normally would, you can really only count on your client list, but you can't count on how much or what they're going to spend. And it's like you're recreating the business, every year. So the business value is much less. But he talks about if you're a plumber that then sets up service plans and now you have recurring revenue coming in, that you now, your value where before it might be worth one or two times can be worth 3 to 5 times annual revenue. Um, Now, whether we're truly going to find somebody to pay those numbers or not is left to be decided. But it does talk about having the consistency and the trackability of your revenue, like you said, that doesn't require you to be there is often the difference between a true payment and um, you know and a low payment, I guess.
Right, right. So, um, I mean, generally, a home service business is sold on a multiple of, at a smaller business, and let's just talk about smaller businesses today. Um, they're sold at a multiple of what we call seller's discretionary earnings, which seller's discretionary earnings is your net profit plus your salary plus the add backs. And add backs is a term that I didn't know. The other two are pretty simple, but
Hmm.
add backs is a term that I didn't know. So, um, as an example, it's things that you put run through the business that are perks. And
Hmm.
so, travel. I mean, when I came to Atlanta, that although it was a business trip, that would have been an add back the cost of that trip because it's a perk that was part of the deal. Um, so
Yeah.
anyway, generally it's a multiple of that. And so,
What type of
um,
numbers are you seeing or are you hearing?
well, I mean, they're all over the place, but I think for a normal home service business of, I mean, doing less than 500,000 in revenue, I think that you're probably looking at 2 to 4. I think when you get to, I mean, the bigger a business, the more of a multiple you can get. It's just easier. And so I think something like what we're building, where it's a low churn, it's a recurring revenue business, you know, our revenues are much higher than that. I think you can probably look at, 4 to I don't know, 6 or 7 times. And that, I think that's realistic. I've seen some, I mean, there's some huge home service companies that have sold for a much bigger multiples than that.
Hmm,
But at this
nice.
point, I think that, when I look at valuation of my business, I normally take 5 or 6x. I have no desire to sell at this point, but
Right. Right.
um, but it is fun to go, okay, you know what? My business is worth this now, and it's worth this now. And
Right.
so,
And of course, it's only worth what somebody's willing to pay, right? So, I know that a lot of folks in the industry are looking to expand through acquisitions. And, there's definitely something to be said for that. They may or may not be willing to pay the numbers that we want exactly. But I acquired a business last year and that's been helpful in getting a big jolt to our numbers, which is great. But yeah, so as far as the recurring revenue, we've already talked about a lot of the things, but I know like in order to truly make your business worthwhile, you've got to make sure that the systems are in place. You've got to make sure that the accounting's in place. Um, when do you? I mean, you obviously want to do that while you're running the business, but are there any things that you recommend as you're getting closer to the selling point? Do you minimize your expenses a little? Do you? What are your thought processes on that?
well, I mean, here's the thing is, and this is why I think that this episode is so important, is because when you're building a business to sell, you're kind of doing those things, obviously. You're trying to keep expenses low so that profit is higher or, income is higher. And um, I think that those are just good business principles. And so if you're running your business as if you're going to sell it the whole time, and now I'm going to go back to my casino days. So one of the things that would happen in the casinos is that there would be, maybe they were looking at, they needed a certain profit percentage or that for financing or a sell or, multiple reasons that they'd just go in and cut things. And they'd go through and they'd just try and cut their way to success. And it never really worked. It would
Mm-hmm.
work short term and the numbers would be inflated and maybe they'd accomplish what they wanted to, maybe they wouldn't. But then eventually it would catch up to them. And so I don't think that you should, I mean, I don't think that you should ever, I think that the numbers are what they are. And I don't think that you should ever be the person that goes, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to. I heard the other day I was talking to somebody about this and he was like, yeah, I've done this before. And, you know, once they got in here, they were like, oh, you can't buy toilet paper this month because, we've overspent. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
but
Bring
I
it,
think that being
bring a napkin.
cognizant of what you're spending is always a good idea. And so that's where when we talk
Yes.
about building a business to sell, I think that that's a uh, a good practice because it forces you to be cognizant of what you're doing. Um, I think I think the main thing is, would you buy a business that depended on you to be there 8 hours a day?
It depends on probably my time period in life, but currently now, no, absolutely not.
Right.
You know,
And
I,
I think
I, I
most
would,
owners wouldn't.
most people buying, where we want to sell or what we want to sell. I would agree. I don't, it wouldn't, I'm not, you're buying yourself a job basically
Right. And most
in
people
in
just
that.
right. Most people don't want to buy a job. And so, they're looking for predictable recurring revenue with documented retention rates. We just last episode we talked about churn rates and they want
Right.
low churn rates. They want you to have another episode that we've done is on systems and SOPs and processes. They want you to have those in place. Um,
Well, and they
one of
have
the
to,
things,
right? If they're going to give you a bucket of money, and they're relying on the fact that this can be repeatable next month and next year and next, in a couple of years, because that's how long it's going to have to be around for them to recoup their money and before they start to make money, perhaps. So 100%, you've got to show that that can be done, for sure.
Right. Yeah. And so, I think that one of the things that's important when we're talking about this is um, clean and accurate financial records. Um, this idea of, and as I've progressed in business, I know that, I'm guessing that you with Debbie being, in the occupation she's in, you've probably had clean financials from day one. I can't say that,
Hmm.
um, I've had some real messes that I've had to pay people to straighten out in my business because,
Right.
it's just not what I do. And so, but I
Right.
think that getting for someone who's in that position, part of, this kind of built to sell thing is clean those financials up, make it to where that you can see what's going on, and a buyer could see what was going on if they came in. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. And and some people, like you said, you wouldn't want to, you want to run the business well regardless of whether you're selling or not. But it's more important to have it several years where they go, okay, I can see the progression, or I can see the consistency, or I can see whatever. And so if you just decide, I'm going to sell it at the end of this year to start doing things the right way, quote unquote, you're going to burn yourself, because they're going to look at that and they're going to go, well, okay, well, what happened last year? Well, wait, why'd you lose, 40 grand last year? That doesn't make sense. And now you're trying to tell me you made 180, or, whatever how, whatever the numbers end up being.
Right.
So, 100%, I understand why you might want to do that. But in reality, you're not really helping yourself, in that
Right.
situation. And I
Yeah.
know there's brokers out there. There's brokers out there that will help you. You know, Oftentimes, talk to them a couple, 2, 3, 4 years ahead of time. Maybe they're not going to earn your business right away, but they can help you identify things that are missing, perhaps in your numbers. And who knows? Maybe they've got somebody in their back pocket that might be worth, talking to as well. But that does come with a cost, does it not?
Well, it does. I mean, as a general rule, I think from what I've seen, they charge 10 to 12% and of the sale price. And so whatever you're looking at. And here's the thing that most people don't take into consideration is, you sell this business. And again, I mean, I'm not a business broker, I'm not a professional. This is just you know, what I've
It's not
been
financial
kind of as
advice.
I right. There's no financial advice here. Nobody would want to take my financial advice anyway. So, um, but you sell the business, and let's just say that you sell it for 500,000. Well, let's make it an easier number. Let's say you sell it for 100,000, but then you've got 60,000 in debt. Well, when that buyer buys it, the first thing that's going to come off the top is that 60,000 in debt. So now you just sold your business for you have 40,000 left. And then the IRS at some point is going to come in and take their percentage, which
Hmm.
if we're talking about, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in what's left over after debt, then you're probably looking at, 25 or 30% that they're going to take off the top. And then you're left with, so in our example, if we had 60,000 in debt, that leaves us 40,000.
Sure.
That means that what we're going to pay 1,200 or so, or 12,000 or so. So now we're at 28,000 for that business that we sold for 100. Now we were responsible for the debt, so
Right. Right.
there's a difference there. But I think that those are the things that you have to take into consideration. And for me, the real the real thing is what we've been talking about. Let's, if we build this to where that it is sellable, then that means that we're doing everything the right way. It's much easier for me to go, okay, if I wanted to sell this tomorrow, this is how I do it. So let's just do it this way because it makes it easier for everybody.
Hmm.
So have you heard anything about maybe roll up
Yeah.
activity? Have you heard anybody that you just talked about that you bought a business last year? And I think that was an interesting process for you. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the company that I purchased, it was great because it was right in my service area anyways. So I did not actually take on any of their assets or any of their vehicles. I guess I took on their website and I still have their name, stuff like that. But I didn't have any of those hard costs with regards to equipment. Um, but and what it did is it provided a really great route density, or at least it increased my route density in those areas, which was nice. So some neighborhoods I would go into previously, I had 7. Well, they did a good campaign and they had 14 in there. So now instead I go in for 21. And that's a nice way to do it. That's a great way to scale real quick. Did it come with a cost? For sure. But it was, in my mind, it was worth it. And, I would like to do that again a couple more times and just gain customers that way. Cause I'm paying for them anyways, in some respects. When I do my Facebook ads or I do flyers or I do this or that or whatever, it all costs money. So, am I okay spending a little bit and potentially a little bit more to get an influx of, 1,000 customers? I am, as long as I'm able to accommodate that. So there's that, and then the other option is where, and we've talked about it in our groups as well, that when we talk once a month, Ben, is potentially trying to roll up a few businesses or have a bunch of businesses ready to roll up in various cities, that then potentially there's a private equity firm or something that would come along and would purchase 7 different cities, and they're all in different names now. But then the private equity firm would go, you know what, Spiffybin's the best name out there. We're going to go ahead and name them all Spiffybin, and that'll be worldwide type of deal. Thoughts on that?
That's your dream, isn't it, Mike? Spiffy bin worldwide.
I do have Spiffy, and I'm currently at Spiffy HQ, so the
There
Spiffy
you go.
headquarters.
There you
Um,
go. Yeah. So,
and my dream would be to roll up those 6 or 7 cities under my name, just for the record.
yeah, I mean, I think that the roll up activity at some point it's going to have to start happening more than it is today, um, for anybody to really get any traction and make these companies as big as they could or should be. I too have bought a couple of local smaller businesses, and it's a I mean, it's a process. It takes a little while, but it's always been, it's been worth it both times. And so, um, you know, I think that it's a great way to expand. And so one of my friends he does SBA loans for a living. It's what he does. He brokers SBA loans. And as we've talked about different things, he was telling me about a deal that he did last year the other day. And he says it's easy because he says both businesses had their financials in order and they were both profitable, and it just made sense that he says we did that deal in no time. I mean, it was a really fast deal. And so I think that that's part of the deal here too, is just making sure that, when you're building to sell, you're also building to buy, which is a big difference. And I think that that's an important differentiator here. So, do we have anything that someone could do to take action on getting closer to building their business to sell?
Well, I mean, you could do a couple things. I think the main thing you would look at is just imagine someone were to offer to buy your business tomorrow. Are you set up for that? Would they look at that and would they give you more or less than their business is valued? Would they be able to justify spending whatever 3x, 5x, 6x your numbers, or would they look at that and go, no, you guys, you're a train wreck. Are your books as clean as they could be? No, probably not, right? Are your systems documented? Hopefully so, right? Because that actually helps you when you're operating a heck of a lot more than when you go to sell, because you are experiencing the fires that you have to put out. If you don't have a systems in mind. What would your team know? Can you go on vacation, for a month to the Italian island, or not Italian islands, the mountains of Italy, and go there? Are you able to do those kind of things? Um, you know, that type of thing. Um, what do you
Well, and
think?
I think that the main thing here is don't build your business to sell because you're selling. Build it to sell because it makes you a better operator today, to your point that you just made. And
100%.
so, yeah, I think that that makes sense.
And it'll
Well,
make your life better while you're running it. I mean, we're all looking for ease a little bit. At least I am, and it doesn't have to be reinvent the wheel every week or every month. And that's the whole point of this recurring revenue model, is that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just need to improve the wheel sometimes, and or document the wheel, or whatever that might look like.
right. I think the real point of this episode was take a good look at your business. And if you were someone that actually was in the market to buy a business, does your business fit the bill that someone would buy? And if the answer to that is yes, I have clean financials, I have systems that are documented, I can step away for a couple of weeks and the place doesn't fall apart. If that's the answer, then good on you and keep going because you've got a great business and probably a great life.
Hmm.
If the answer to any of those is not what it should be, then get to work and figure out what you need to do to make it better.
I agree. You should
Perfect.
be a business broker, Ben.
Yeah. Uh, Mike, I clean trash cans for a living.
That's right. That's right.
Do you ever answer the question that way, Mike, when someone says, "Oh, what do you do?" Do you ever just look at them and say, "I clean trash cans"?
Well, during the whole COVID thing, they were always pushing COVID, COVID test, COVID this, that, and the other thing, and I said, listen, not for nothing, two things: you can't get COVID if you don't test for it. So there's that. Maybe that's like the ostrich putting his head in the sand. But then secondly,
Yeah,
that's what I said. I said, there's nothing worse than some of these garbage bins that I stick my head in and clean. So be hard pressed to think that it's going to be worse than those. But yeah, it's interesting when people ask. I was on a plane the other day, and I try not to talk to people around me, but also I have a hard time not talking to people around me. And they asked what I do, and I start to chuckle a little bit, basically that chuckle you just had. And I go, well, here's the thing. It's a little unorthodox, but this is what I do. And I went through it, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's two things I always hear is, wow, that's got to be pretty dirty, yeah. And then secondly, that's genius. And I think I'm very far from genius, but the number of times I've been told I'm a genius for starting this business is more than I can count. So, which also proves that I'm not a genius. So it's kind of an interesting path we've been on, and certainly proud of myself, proud of you, and proud of a lot of the people that we talk to in the industry, and how they've been able to make something out of nothing, which is the coolest thing. Um, you know, it's 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 just amazing that you can think about things that 5 years ago I never would have dreamt of, or 7 years ago I never would have dreamt of, and now we're able to do them, and it's pretty wild. Doesn't come without a lot of work and a lot of energy and a lot of time, but it all becomes worth it at some point if you stay in it just long enough so that it becomes easy. And I don't know that it ever becomes easy, but it becomes easier, I guess would be the best way to say it. So
well said, Mike. Well said.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Well, take us out, Mike.
well, awesome. Thank you once again. We appreciate your time listening to the podcast. we hope that you can build your business enough to one day be able to sell it and help with your retirement plans and or spend more time with family. And we appreciate your time. Please, like, subscribe, and certainly refer us out. We would appreciate that as well. Let people know this podcast has helped you, or that these two guys are pretty normal guys and they're fun to listen to once in a while. And we would appreciate it. So thank you very much, Ben, for your time. And until the next one.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thanks to Miller for listening to this. He's the one that has to, because he's behind the scenes right now producing it.
And we pay him.
And we pay him to do it. Yeah. And I'd like to say thanks to Mike's mom for listening.
And the third person, and I think probably really the only one that listens, because I know damn well Miller's not listening, is your mom. She loves to listen to you talk on the phone, on the podcast. So if there's anyone else, certainly let us know. We would love to hear that as well.
Thanks, guys.
Comment, let us know. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Take care. Well, Ben, that's a wrap on another episode of The Route to Revenue. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you would hit like, subscribe, and leave us old guys a comment about what we did well. And if we did anything wrong, can it and keep it to yourself.
If today's strategy sparked some ideas for your business, don't keep them to yourself. Share this episode with a fellow entrepreneur who could benefit from these insights.
Remember, building a recurring revenue business, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. Take one actionable step from today's discussion and implement it in your business this week.
Want to connect with us between episodes? Find us on Facebook or at our website. We'd love to hear how you're applying these concepts in your own home service business.
And until next time, keep building those recurring revenue streams and stay on the route to revenue.
The route to revenue.
Nice, Ben.